Good morning. What is up, fellow Hoops fans? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our good friends over there at topsport.com.au. Now it's Monday morning. We've got big old mate BK in the building. BK, well, you're not really in the building, but you're with us here as usual on a Monday morning. BK, my brother, how you doing?
I'm here now, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, my man. I'm doing good. Had a nice weekend. You know, really got out, enjoyed my Saturday as well, and, you know, did a little bit of sneaker shopping. Well, I was searching for sneakers anyway, so it was a good weekend.
I love it.
BK, we've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to get straight into it as usual. Listen, this morning, it was an early game, so I know neither one of us actually watched it. I believe it tipped off at 4 a.m. Oz time, but the Brooklyn Nets, New York Knicks, you know, we're not even going to talk about the result because that is inconsequential right now, and I don't want to talk about another Knicks loss. Kevin Durant, 53 points. But the big talking point of this one here, BK, Kyrie Irving. Now, the game was played at Barclays Center in New York, so he was not allowed to play in this game because of his unvaccinated status. But old mate did turn up. He was sitting courtside. He was in the locker room. He was with his teammates, not wearing a mask, which he was allowed to do as a fan, but he's not allowed to play in that game. Now, KD had some pretty, I don't want to say strong words, but he had some words to say post-game. He said, I don't get it. At this point now, it feels like somebody's trying to make a statement or a point to flex their authority. But everyone out here is looking for attention, and that's what I feel the mayor wants right now is some attention. BK, this is turning into like one big circus right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a soap opera, and I guess from Kevin Durant's perspective, the optics do kind of look silly in that, like, he's everywhere but on the court. But that's just the rules of the city. It's the same rules that apply to everyone. And Mayor Eric Adams has been pretty steadfast in that he's not going to change anything just for Kyrie Irving. But when you see road players coming in unvaccinated and playing in New York, and then Kyrie's got to sit on the sidelines and then can kind of do all this butt play, it's easy to understand why the players are scratching their heads.
Yeah, and for some clarity as well, the mandate in New York is regarding employees. And that's why, you know, when he goes into the arena as an employee, they're the requirements that, because it is a private sector, so that's the requirements that the Barclays Center and the Brooklyn Nets and whoever it may be have to follow. But it doesn't apply to fans, which is why he is allowed to turn up. He was at the Duke game yesterday. I think it was at Madison Square Garden, but he was at the Duke game yesterday. He was there today, no mask. He's allowed to do that as, I guess, a fan, which is what he was going there as. But like you said, you know, the rules do apply to everybody, and that's one thing that Mayor Eric Adams has been saying from the beginning. He's a Brooklynite. He's a Brooklyn Nets fan. He said there's nothing more than I want than to win a ring this season, but the rules do apply to everybody.
Employee is a hilarious way to describe Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I know, right?
50 ball against the Hornets, cook the Sixers, but hey, you're an employee.
You're an employee for the
employee
matter.
Of the month, maybe.
Yeah, employee of the month. Well, I don't think he's played enough to be employee of the month. So. But it's look, you know, that's one problem the Brooklyn Nets have to tackle. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but I figure let's talk about it now. Another problem they're going to have to tackle, though, BK, is Ben Simmons. Because there's some news with Ben Simmons, who he has not played yet, as we know, for the Brooklyn Nets since being traded for James Harden. The Nets had been hopeful that Simmons would have resumed team activities by now. That has not been the case. Steve Nash said that he is far away from still returning. The quote from Steve Nash was, he's not ready for even one-on-one, let alone 3-on-3, 5-on-5. So he's got to get to a place where he can go full speed, unopposed, 1-on-0, 1-on-0, and then we'll talk about, and hopefully quickly he can go to 1-on-1, 3-on-3, 5-on-5. So according to the Nets, BK, he is still far away from coming back. They're running out of time. There's only about 16 games left for the Brooklyn Nets in the regular season. I don't see how they bring him back before the regular season. And then obviously you've got to integrate him into the lineup, BK. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because it's it's not a situation where they're coming in as a top seed and the first round of the playoffs is going to be, an easy sweep of an eighth seed. They're clawing their way into the playoffs via the play-in tournament, and the result will be them having to play, one of the better teams in the first round. So that first round is going to be no joke. So to bring Ben Simmons back in and try and integrate him into the first round, if that's, if he doesn't come back for the regular season, that's a tough tall order for the Brooklyn Nets. The promising thing is watching them play in recent weeks and seeing what Simmons would be able to add to this team. It doesn't look like it'll take a ton to actually bring him into the lineup, and that's obviously if Kyrie Irving is playing, because I think that's the key to having Ben Simmons be successful in this team. Is if he's playing alongside a guy like Kyrie Irving who can space the floor and operate things at the one position, that makes things a whole lot easier. But still, you want to get somewhat of a launching pad into the postseason. So for them, it's fingers crossed he can come back before the end of the regular season and at least get some reps in and try and figure out where he fits in this team.
Yeah, well, then the other dilemma that they've got is because as things stand right now, Brooklyn would be playing Toronto in that play-in matchup. Kyrie's not eligible to play in those games. so it just, it for me, if he doesn't come in before the end of the regular season, like you said, get those reps in, at least get acclimated to his teammates on court. NBA in-game situations obviously different to practice and all that sort of stuff. If he doesn't get that in, it's going to be tough to throw him in there, in that sort of play-in tournament against Toronto, where Kyrie's not eligible to play. It just puts a little bit more pressure on him as well, considering that the last time we saw Ben Simmons on an NBA floor was in Game 7 of that, I think it was the semifinal, Eastern Conference semifinal loss to Atlanta, where he, for the lack of a better term, let's say, didn't rise to the occasion, BK. So I don't know if that's, if that's what his first games this season, that play-in tournament, I don't know if that's the situation you want to be in.
Yeah, it's a tough one because even just for him physically, backs aren't something to be played with. We've seen, it can take some time to get right, and then he's got to get up to NBA game speed as well. So there's a lot of factors working against Simmons in this scenario. But the biggest one is the clock and the calendar, because the playoffs are going to be here very, very soon.
Yeah, we've got less than a month till the play-in tournament begins. Look. From what I've seen from Brooklyn over the last, week and a bit, like no one wants to play Brooklyn in the first round, right? But if they've got everybody healthy, Kyrie, if he can play as many games as he can play, Ben Simmons, they're going to be very dangerous. Like, I haven't completely written them off in terms, I still don't think they're going to win a championship. I haven't written them off in terms of maybe making the Eastern Conference Finals, BK.
So yeah, if everything breaks right for the Nets, they're a dangerous team. We've seen that, especially just even this last week of games. Like they're not to be played with when they're at full flight.
No, hell no. Kevin Durant's going to have to carry a hell of a lot of that load because we just don't know if the other two guys are going to be able to play. BK, let's talk about another Aussie that had a career-high game yesterday. Old mate Jock Landale had a great game yesterday. 26 points, 7 rebounds, 12 of 15 shooting for the big fella. He was the first Spurs rookie to have 25 points on at least 80% field goal shooting since David Robertson, I believe, which was 1989, if memory serves correctly. Spurs lost the game. What a great performance from old mate Jock, BK.
Hey, stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. That's been the mantra for Jock Landale all season, and he's always made the most of his opportunities, in limited minutes. But when we've seen him get an extended run, like we did yesterday, he's a really, really good player and has proven that he belongs at the NBA level. So the good news for him, the Spurs are still kind of in the hunt there. If he can kind of hold on to his spot in the rotation, I think there's definitely minutes for him there as that backup big.
Yeah, I actually jokingly tweeted about this yesterday. I was like, Jock Landale's having a career high game now, so Popovich probably won't play him for the next 5. He'll get a DNP because his minutes have been very, very spotty. And even when he has a good game, it just seems like, Popovich will just yank him out of the rotation and then not play him for a few games afterwards. I saw that interview that he did with ESPN Australia's The Jump Show, and he talked about how hard it's been mentally for him, playing a few minutes here and there and then not playing at all. And then, he said that's the biggest adjustment he's had to make in the NBA this season. Where do you see Popovich go? I mean, look, they're kind of in the hunt, but I just don't see anything happening from San Antonio this season. So, I'm looking at it like, should Popovich be playing Landale more at this point of the season?
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's shown that he fits in to what they're doing. He's a great three-point shooter. He can space the floor, but he's also got that great, soft touch around the rim. They don't have a ton of depth at the forward center position. So after some moves at the trade deadline, so an opportunity has kind of opened here for Landale. But he's just got to keep his head down, keep working, and keep making the most of these opportunities until he's undeniable to put into the rotation.
Yeah, facts. And look, and to his credit, that's what he's been doing so far, right? And, like you said, when he does get his opportunities, he has shined. So hashtag free Jock Landale. Popovich, you may be the all-time winningest coach, but you got to listen to us on this one here. All right, BK, I want to talk a little bit about the Golden State Warriors as well. They had a good win against the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday. It was interesting because Steve Kerr actually decided to start Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole for the first time ever. Now, that trio combined for 76 points. Klay had 38, Poole had 30, and only 8 for Steph Curry. Jordan Poole has been absolutely incredible over his last 6 games, averaging 24 points. BK, how does his play change the dynamic for this Warriors team?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a flashback game with the 3-guard lineup there, but it just ups the tempo of this team because you have 3 guys who can all score, who can all get up and down the floor. I really like this lineup. I don't know if it's one of those ones where you're going to see it consistently, maybe more towards the end of games. Where you have Poole, Curry, and Klay out there. But the most encouraging part of this is they did all this with Steph not even really having that good a game. He only scored 8 points. It was really Klay Thompson and Poole that were kind of lighting it up. And, obviously coming up against Drew Holiday and the defensive attention that Curry's going to receive there. That's not going to be the case in every game, but the small sample size of one game is pretty promising. But you've also got Draymond Green to bring back into the fold there as well. Who can come in and play at that 5 position with Wiggins at the 4. That's an interesting combo.
Yeah, well, just to touch on what you just said about, Drew Holiday, that was actually one of the reasons why Steve Kerr said that he decided to go with the 3-guard lineup because of Drew Holiday. Look, that Draymond, Wiggins, and Poole, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, again, you said it's just a small sample size, right? But the Warriors were known for that the small ball lineup, the death lineup when, they were really at their peak a few years back. Could this be the death lineup 2.0, BK?
It's looking promising. I need to see it more, but it looked good.
Yeah, it absolutely looked good. I'll tell you what, when Draymond comes back, obviously he's going to need a little bit of time to sort of get his, reps in as well. But that's going to be dangerous, that lineup. I'm looking forward to seeing it in the playoffs and seeing what they can do with that.
Especially when you add the playmaking of Draymond. That's the big difference between having Kevon Looney at the 5 and then having Draymond at the 5. It's going to open so many more looks for these guys on the perimeter when you have a guy like Green who's going to give you 8 to 10 assists a game.
Yeah. Look, I just got excited. Yes, we need the playoffs to come around because I need to see more of this lineup. All right, BK, let's take a look at some of these games for today, and then we're going to get out of here. 8 games on the slate today, 2 already done. 1 is in action as we speak right now. So we're going to start off with the Pelicans and the Houston Rockets. Pelicans $1.37 favorite. Houston Rockets $3.15 line -7. Total 231 even. Live on NBA League Pass. Pels have lost 4 in a row, BK, so they need a win to keep pace with the Lakers. They're 2.5 games back of Los Angeles, who are in 9th. Houston had a win against the Lakers, then lose to the Mavs on Saturday. No CJ McCollum, though, which is going to make it tough, and no Brandon Ingram for the Pelicans. He's got a mild hamstring strain. BK, who do you like?
This is a tricky one. I was impressed by the Rockets in their last game against the Lakers. I might roll with them again in this one. Those are 2 big outs for the Pelicans.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I like the Rockets in that game against the Lakers as well. I just think that the Pels don't have the depth to sort of cover those two losses. CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram is probably their two best players. So, yeah, I'm rolling with the Houston Rockets as well. It'll be close, though. Next game we're going to take a look at, Indiana and Atlanta. BK, we get to that point of the season where, like, does anyone really care about Indiana games? But, you know, they're on the schedule. So the Atlanta Hawks are $1.13 favorites. Indiana Pacers, $6.75. Lines at minus 12.5. Total, 237.5. Live on SBS Viceland today. Atlanta in 10th, BK. They can't really seem to get that momentum going like they did last year to close out the season. John Collins is listed as day-to-day. No Brogdon, no TJ Warren, no TJ McConnell, Miles Turner, or Lance Stevenson for Indiana, and that's a big reason why they're paying what they're paying. Atlanta favorites. I'm rocking with the Hawks in this one.
Yeah, that 12.5 is that could be a bit generous for the Pacers. I think this is going to be light work for the Atlanta Hawks.
Some teams just need to, like, there needs to be a mercy rule on their season. Indiana's one of those teams right now. All right, let's move on to the next game, VK. Memphis and Oklahoma City. Memphis, $1.07. Oklahoma City, $10. The line, 14.5. Total, 229. Live on League Pass. Listen, OKC, Shea, he's been playing absolutely great the last few games, but the Thunder are really showing signs of just being that real young, inexperienced team right now. They've lost 4 in a row. They're just counting down the days until their season is over. 20-46 on the season. The Grizz, I like them a lot. They've won 2 in a row. They're tied for Warriors for second best in the Western Conference. Dylan Brooks is questionable. No Derek Favors, no Muscala, no Giddey. Trey Mann questionable for the OKC Thunder. I don't think it really matters, even if most of those guys had played. Memphis to win today, easy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. The Thunder, they've shown us everything they needed to show us this season. They're looking ahead to the draft now. The Grizz should walk through this one.
Oh, hell yeah. They're counting down the days to that draft lottery so they know where they're picking for the next one. All right, BK. Last NBA game we're going to take a look at. We've got the Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. Suns are $1.25. Lakers, $4.30. Lines at minus 8.5 there. Total, 230. Live on ESPN, BK. Lakers trying to get beat down by the league's best team today because I just don't see any way that they win this one here. They're coming off the win against Washington, but they needed a 50 ball from LeBron to get that over the line. They're 23 and a half games behind the Suns, BK. You already know what I don't care who you bring in today. You could bring in Magic Johnson. They're still not beating the Phoenix Suns today.
Hey, if LeBron puts up another 50 ball, that could be different. But 3 in 4 games maybe asking a bit too much. The Suns are a pretty well-oiled machine. I think they should win this game. But I want to see Bron can keep doing this.
Well, I should mention also, so this is obviously as of late last night, but Anthony Davis, Kendrick Nunn are both confirmed out. LeBron and Taylor Horton-Tucker are questionable to play. So we don't even know if LeBron's playing today. Malik Monk also probable. I mean, the Suns, no Chris Paul, as we know, and Cam Johnson's out, but the Suns, they've still got way too much firepower, I think, especially if all those guys don't play for the Lakers.
Big facts. I think the Suns will take this one.
Yeah, very easily. All right, BK, my man, we're going to let you go. You're a busy man. You got things to do. We're going to catch you again later in the week, my man. Have a good week.
Always appreciate it, my brother.
This has been another episode of The Last Shot NBA Show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au. We'll see you guys Wednesday morning.